Russia says it shut off Ukraine's natural gas over a pricing dispute, but some view it as a move to control Ukraine and punish its leaders for moving in a pro-Western direction. Striving to regain its role as a world player, Russia has been stepping up its efforts to control former Soviet countries. Ariel Cohen of the Heritage Foundation says Russia's invasion of Georgia this summer was also a warning to Ukraine.
It is sending a bad signal to Ukraine, and that is that the Russian bear is back, that these countries that are much weaker and smaller than the Russian Federation have to do what Moscow is telling them to do.
Why should the world care if Russia controls Ukraine and rebuilds its empire? Because European countries need Russian oil and gas. Russia supplies 25% of Europe's natural gas, and 80% of it flows through Ukraine.
Many countries, like Germany, are very dependent on Russian oil, and increasingly so. So the Russians, by shutting down the gas supply to Ukraine, by increasing their dependence on Russian oil and gas, have a tool of foreign policy.
A foreign policy that could one day threaten Europe's security and freedom. Yevgeny Svirstuk is a former Soviet dissident who spent 7 years in a labor camp for his writings. He says that Russia under the leadership of Vladimir Putin looks very familiar.
They're going backward, not forward. They're going back to the former Soviet methods of governing the state. A KGB agent is able to do only those things he used to do.
The U.S. wants to see Ukraine break from Russia and form a stronger attachment with Europe through the EU and NATO. But EU and NATO leaders are slow to accept Ukraine because of its internal problems and Russia's aggression in Georgia. Where do the Ukrainian people stand on closer alliances with the West? 4 years ago, they overwhelmingly supported President Viktor Yushchenko and the pro-Western Orange Revolution. Today, the economic and social progress they expected to reap from that revolution has not materialized. Behind me is Freedom Square, the place where in 2004 Ukrainians stood up for true democracy. Since then, the leaders of the Orange Revolution have been fighting amongst themselves, and the people are disillusioned.
4 years ago, a lot of people believed this is Orange Revolution. But in our country, unfortunately, our politicians' behavior very changeable.
People didn't have hope, and they gave them hope. People believed them, but nothing good came out of it.
President Yushchenko and Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko have been fighting each other since they came to power. Yushchenko has dissolved parliament and has called for new elections twice in the past 2 years. Russia's Vladimir Putin used the squabbling to strengthen the pro-Russian political party in Ukraine.
Playing this three-part circus in Ukraine is what gives Russia more clout in the Ukrainian affairs and allows Moscow to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO. This is against Ukrainian interests and against American interests.
But even most Ukrainians don't support joining NATO. These anti-NATO protesters are Orthodox Christians. This man says NATO is against Orthodox values because it bombed Serbia, another Orthodox nation, on Easter Day, 1999. And where does incoming President Barack Obama stand on the issue of protecting Europe from a resurgent Russia? So far, he appears to be giving full attention to the economic crisis at home, taking little notice of foreign affairs, a situation that could one day leave Ukraine and parts of Europe out in the cold. Gary Lane, CBN News, Kyiv.